Hello, students. This is week 2, and we have lecture 4, 5, and 6. This is part 1, which is about technical writing process. First, we look about the lecture outline. We will focus on technical writing process, and especially uh, this writing process is consist of uh, 3 subphases, which are pre-write, write, and rewrite. So, what about these 3 phases? What are the sub processes? What we have to do in these processes? We will discuss in this lecture with proper examples. First stage in technical writing process is pre-writing. As the name suggests, the pre-writing, we can say that it is the most premier stage, or it is the most, you can say, the first stage of writing. We can say that pre-writing strategies use writing to generate and clarify ideas. As we know that many writers have traditionally created outlines before beginning of the writing, and there are several reasons for that, because we have to know the audience first, to whom we are communicating. We often call these pre-writing strategies as the brainstorming techniques, because the major reason is that if we don't brainstorm, so we cannot write it properly, because we have to uh, chalk out the barriers also. We have to chalk out the major points also. So if we don't list them, so we cannot write it properly. So there is a chance, there is a chance we can miss some of the important points. Also, the language we are using towards our audience is very important, because if we are sitting and just thinking about what we have to write, so we have to think first about the audience, that to whom we are communicating. So keeping in mind about the audience, because it is the most important thing to whom we are addressing, so we can proceed. Pre-writing, the first stage of the writing process, allows you to plan your communication. This stage of pre-writing consists of 5 or more than 5 parts, but the major parts are the listing, clustering, free writing, looping, and the last one is journalist questions. So, what are the major working of these parts? We will discuss individually. The first one is listing. Uh, as we all know, whenever we are going to write anything, or we have planned to write anything, we list. Because listing is the process of generation of information within short time, by generating some broad ideas and then building on these association for more details. You can say that listening is particularly useful if your starting topic is very broad and you need to narrow it down. Just like if we are presenting something, or if we are writing a letter, so maybe the canvas of that letter may be broader, but we have to somehow restrict on one page. So we have to list some important features. So we can jot down all the possible terms that emerge from the general topic, you are working on. From this procedure work especially well if you work in a team. All team member can generate ideas with one member acting as a head or the other member as a teammate. Well, you don't need to worry about the editing or throwing out what might not be a good idea. So because in listing you have to write down as many as possibilities as you can. Moreover, group the items that you have listed according to the arrangement that makes sense to you. um, the next one, give each group a label. Now you have a narrow topic with the possible points of development. uh, if we talk about different type of statements, or we can say if we have to for example if we have to write a thesis statement, um, so we can group all the points and phrase into a single sentence, or a sentence or a paragraph, small paragraphs of 2 to 3 lines. So this is basically the listing process. Remember, this is one of the most initial process that we are discussing here. The second one, as we have discussed, is clustering. As we all know, the clustering, also called mind mapping, or the you can say idea mapping, which is a strategy that allows you to explore the relationship between the ideas. Um the major step you have to do, or the major work you have to do, is to put the subject in the center of the page, and or circle or underline it. um, as you think of other ideas, write them on the page surrounding the central idea, like the new ideas to the central ideas with the line, or as you think of ideas that relates to the new ideas, add to those in the same way. So this is the one general techniques. You can try it of your own also if you have some different technique regarding clustering. As we know that the clustering is especially useful in determining the relationship between ideas. You will able to distinguish how ideas fit together, especially when there is an abundance of idea by your team members or your teammates or your group partners. Clustering ideas, you clustering your ideas lets you see them visually in different way, so that you can more readily understand the possible direction your paper may take. So first you have listing process. You have list all the things, then you cluster it, and the third one is free writing. As the name suggests, that the free writing is a process of generating a lot of information by writing non-stop for a predetermined amount of time. Like free writing is just like a practice match or a practice cricket match, in which you don't need to worry about your performance. You just have to check your techniques, or whatever you have in your mind, you have to write it. So free write on the assignment, or you can say on a journal topic for 5 to 10 minutes, or non-stop force yourself to continue writing even if nothing specific comes to your mind. So this is the most common technique that you already being in practice of free writing. So again, first you have the phase of listing, then you have the phase of clustering, and after that there is a phase of clustering, or sorry, the free writing. So these three phases. And the fourth one is looping. So what the looping is a free writing technique that allows you to focus your idea continually while trying to discover a writing topic. It is the stage after the free writing, because after you free write for the first time, you identify a key thought or an idea in your writing and begin to free write again. With that idea as your starting point, you will loop 5 to 10 minutes of free writing after another. So you have a sequence of free writings, or each more specific than the last. The same rules that apply to free writing apply to looping. Write quickly, do not edit, and do not stop. So if we talk about example of looping, I must say, if you select a topic, or you are writing towards some specific goal. For example, you are writing or as a team member. So you have a specific idea in your mind, and after you free write many times, you will go into the looping. For example, all your writing material will be collected at your the head of the team. So he will collect all the material, and after that he will assign you one more special topic related to that topic. Then you have to write it again, so it will come in the borderline, or in the boundary of looping. The last one is the journalist questions. As the name suggests, usually journalists ask who, what, when, where, why, and how. Always remember, whenever you have to ask these type of questions to yourself, you always have a clear idea after you have answered these questions. For example, I can say who, for example. So I have to check who are the participant while writing, who is affected, who are the primary actors, who are the secondary actors. After that, what is my topic, what is the significance of the topic, and what is the basic problem, why we are writing, and what are the issues related to that problem. So the third one is where does the activity take place. One more thing, where does the problem or issue have its source, or at what place is the cause or effect of the problem most visible. The fourth one is when. I must say, when is the issue most apparent, when did the issue or problem develop, or when is the action needed to address the issue or problem, or much more. Then why did the issue or problem arise, or why did the issue or problem develop in that way. And the last one is how is the issue or problem significant, how it can be addressed, or how does it affect the participants. So these are the journalist questions that you may ask to yourself, or I suggest you, if you write down into a tabular form, then there is no question left behind, because everything will cover into these 6 journalist question. So whenever you have to write, if you are confident in answering these 6 questions, then you can write even perfectly. But if you are confused, or if you are not sure about any one single of them, so you may have a problem while writing or while addressing or anything else you can say. So these are the five, I can say, the pre-stages of pre-writing that you have to focus on. And for a good writing, the pre-writing stage must be strong, or must be strong enough to answer these questions. Now we will discuss the core objectives of pre-writing, that consist, for example, the first one is examine your purpose. uh, there are two purposes for writing. One is external motivation, and the other one is internal motivation. So what is the external motivation? For example, if someone has requested the correspondence, then your motivational is external. For example, if your boss accepts you to write a monthly report or a letter, or for example, performance appraisal for your subordinate, or an email report suggesting solution of the current problem or whatever. So in all instances, you have to communicate, um or you have someone else has asked you to communicate. So this is the external motivation, that someone has asked you to do some specific task. Now the internal motivation is, for example, if you have decided to write on your own accord, then your motivation is internal. For example, you need information to perform your job more effectively, or for example, uh, you are writing a cover letter that belongs to you, for job or something else. So all these things belongs to your internal motivation. So there is a keen difference between the external motivation and internal motivation, because the external motivation is, you are bounded to do something, or as instructed by your boss or your head. But the internal motivation is something that you are doing it for yourself, or any purpose that belongs to you. The next objective is determine your goals. For example, once you have examined why you are planning to communicate, the next step is to determine your goals in the correspondence. For example, you might be communicating to persuade, communicating to instruct, or communicating to inform, or communicating to build trust. So we will see individually. The first one is communicating to persuade. If your goal is writing is to change others' opinion, or a company policy, you need to be persuasive. For example, you might want to write a letter or proposal or brochure to sell a product or a service. uh, like uh, um, if we talk about today's technology, we have certain messages, or we have certain emails from someone from the known person, or someone from unknown person, to change our view, or to buy some product, or to shift our view for a specific product. So it may be through flyers, emails, or whatever the new technology, through, for example, the WhatsApp message, or you can say the promotional message. So it is lie in the category of communicating to persuade. Secondly, it is communicating to instruct. Instructions will play a large role in your technical communication activities. For example, if you are heading a team, or if you are a manager, so you often will need to direct action. Your job demands that you tell all the employees under your supervision what to do and what not to do. For example, if you are a safety in charge, or if you are a safety manager, so you have to write certain memos, letter, to instruct the workers at the job about the safety precautions. This communication lies in the category of communication to instruct. The third one is communicating to inform. So often you write a letter, report, email, or for a short message. So you may invite your staff to an upcoming meeting or a trip. Report will inform your supervisor that what conference presentations you attended, or what your prospective clients needs are. So these are all the communications lie in the category of communicating to inform. The fourth one is communicating to build trust. Um, for example, as the name suggests, that for example, building trust is one of the most important and one of the most difficult tasks. As a manager or employee, your job is not merely to dump the data in your written communication. You also need to realize that you are communicating with co-workers, people with whom you will work every day. To maintain a successful work environment, you want to achieve the correct positive tone in your writing. So this might require nothing more than writing a tweet, for example, saying thanks for the information, or for example, you have done a great job, or so we can say a positive message towards your employee. If you are dealing with for example, if you are dealing with your team, so this is most important. So it will give a positive vibe towards your team worker also. So to determine your goal, remember these four communicating process: communicating to persuade, communicating to instruct, communicating to inform, and communicating to build the trust. The third one is consider your audience. As I early mentioned about the importance of knowing your audience. What you say and how you say it is greatly determined by your audience. For example, if you are talking in a light mode, or a very serious thing that may not affect the listener, or if you're writing in the same case. Secondly, you must provide different information to multicultural audience. This is very important. For example, if you are dealing with the people with different nationalities, or different cultures, so you have to keep it in your mind that to whom you are communicating, and what are their cultural values, or other things. Um, you must consider issues of diversity when you communicate. So these are the three major aspects, as we have discussed earlier in very detail. So we don't need to put more effort in it. But remember knowing your audience is the key. If you know your audience, then your writing will be in the right direction. Otherwise, if you are not if you are not known to your audience, or you are not knowing your audience, then it will be very difficult to communicate. Maybe they don't understand what you want to say, or maybe some other problems may occur. The next one is gather your data. For example, once you know why you are writing, and who your audience is, and to whom you are addressing, the next step is deciding what to say. Like I mentioned earlier, you have to gather data. The page or screen remains blank until you fill it with your content. Your communication therefore will be considered personal. Action required, location, cost, methods for implementing the suggestions. So there are many ways, or I can say the techniques, the planning techniques includes, like I mentioned earlier, answering the reporter questions, mind mapping, brainstorming, outlining, and flow charting. So these five planning techniques we will discuss in detail, that how we can include these techniques while writing the our while writing, or specifically on the stage of pre-writing. Answering the reporter question, the generic terms about who, what, when, where, and why we have discussed in our previous slide. Now, here is a simple reporter question with example. For example, who? So, Joe Kingsbury, a sale representative. What? Need to know what our discount is, and if you buy in quantities. For example, what the guarantees are, if the services is provided on site, if the installers are certified and bonded, and for example more other questions. So this is a sample for you. Like when, need the information by July 9 to meet our proposal deadline. Where, you can write the address, like it's already mentioned here. Why are you writing, like here it is mentioned that as requested by my boss John to help us provide more information to prospective customer. And how, either communicate with a letter or an email. I can write an email inquiry to save time, but I must tell Joe to respond in a letter with his signature to verify the information he provides. So um, it validates the previous slide we have in the journalist question. So it is also an example of that slide also. So in general terms, we can see if we are working in a procurement site, or if we are working in an engineering field or an engineering department, then we have to procure certain things or certain instruments. So we can also exemplify that. For example, who, I must say the sales representative. What, for example, I'm asking about discounts on different instruments, like if I need a PLC. So I may ask about the installing package, or I may ask about guarantees. When, for example, I may say it is required by next month, or some any other date. Where, I must write the address of my company. Or why, because I can say that we need them because the other PLC is not working properly. And how, So how we are communicating, by letter, by memo, or as something else. So remember, this is most important. Like if you are gathering your data and um, you have created such a table, then it will be more easy for you to chalk out your plan, that to whom and how and why and when you are communicating. Um the next technique in gathering the data is mind mapping. Here's the example. For example, if you are planning for a departmental picnic, so what are the three major um, things you need to worry about it? The first one is, for example, food, as you can see from the diagram, and the second one is entertainment, and the third one is location. So you have drawn these three major links. Now, specifically, if you ask for food, so you can have more categories, like in food, you have desserts, you have in tree, you have drinks, and much more. Even if you more specified, like in drinks you can have iced teas, soft drinks, and in desserts you have ice cream or cakes. Similarly, in entertainment, you have games, clowns and jugglers, and similarly, while selecting the location, you have park, you have lake, home office, or much more. So this is the example of the sample of and sample of the mind mapping. So how you can map while writing, for example, to whom you are writing, is the major, or is a major person, and after that you can start, or I can say the connecting dot, the connecting the dot strategy. So after doing that, you have a clear idea that where exactly you are going. Brainstorming, here the example of brainstorming. For example, sample listing. Before meeting, ask employees for agenda items, consider flex time, review employee benefits packages, hold yearly award ceremony for best attendance, highest performance, or offer employee sharing for unused personal days or sick leaves, roll over personal days to next calendar year, include employees in decision making process. So for example, if I'm listing about improving employee morale, same is the case if I'm listing that improving student morale. So what I should do, I have to write same type of list, or I have to list the major parameters or major concerns, or major points that I need to address. And similarly, if a student is writing, so he or she have to write the same point. So this is the just the basic example. The next one is outlining in gathering the data. Um like this traditional method is of gathering and organizing information allows you to break a topic into a major and minor components. This is a wonderful um, all purpose planning tool. Like you have a course outline, you have a certain outline for a book. In index, for example, you can find out the topics which you want to study. Same is the case, if you outline these topic, you can easily find which topic you have to study. So this is the example. Same here. If you outline your all the headings, then it will be easy to communicate. The next technique is flowchart. Flowcharting is another visual technique for gathering data, because flowcharting organize the content chronologically. It is especially useful for instructions. Uh, in many manuals, uh, you will see these flowcharts, or same is the case in pre-writing. You can draw a flow chart, or you can gather a small picture or a visual, through visual, that you can designate the specific task in writing. For example, if you're writing a report, or I must say a report regarding operation manual, or a report, a feedback report, then you have to chalk out specifically. You start with the introduction, then some major headings. After that, you have some other headings. So if you don't write, if you don't want to write too much in like outlining or listing process, then you can also use the flow charting technique. So this flowchart technique not only a time saving technique, but add uh, a valuable tool into your gadget of pre-writing.